Have you ever watched a plane from the ground as it just carves this perfect circle in the sky? It looks so smooth, so effortless. But let me tell you, inside that cockpit, the steep turn is one of the most demanding maneuvers a pilot learns. It is a true test of precision, coordination, and your command over that aircraft. And you don't have to take my word for it. The official airplane flying handbook says it right there. This isn't just some flashy move you do for fun. It's about building the fundamental skills that really defined a good pilot. This single exercise has a deep, critical purpose. So what is that purpose exactly? Why do flight instructors have us spend hours upon hours banking the airplane at exactly 45 degrees, just flying in what feels like an endless circle? I mean, it can feel a little repetitive, right? Just flying around and around a single point. What's the real-world application here? What makes this one maneuver so incredibly important to master? Well, here's the thing. It's not about mastering one skill. It's about mastering a whole bunch of them all at once. This is a maximum performance turn, the exact kind you might need in an emergency to avoid a collision. It forces you to divide your attention, managing the controls inside, while constantly, and I mean constantly, scanning for traffic outside. And it perfects that delicate dance between your ailerons and your rudder. Now, to fly it perfectly, you really have to understand the physics of it. So let's break down the anatomy of this maneuver and take a look at the forces that are actually at play the second you bank those wings. All right, here's the textbook definition. For your check ride, a steep turn is a coordinated turn at a 45-degree bank. But the real test, the real challenge, isn't just hitting 45 degrees. It's holding that angle perfectly while also keeping your altitude and airspeed from changing one bit. That's the tricky part. Okay, and this is why it's so tricky. When you're flying straight and level, it's simple. Lift points straight up and it opposes weight. But the moment you bank, that lift factor splits into two. Part of it is still pointing up. That's your vertical component holding you in the air. But the other part, the horizontal component, is what's actually pulling you through the turn. So to keep from descending, you have to increase your total lift. And that means adding back pressure and a little bit of power. All right, so we've covered the why and the what. Now for the fun part, the how. Let's walk through a step-by-step guide to executing a beautiful, perfect, steep turn. A great turn always follows a precise process. First things first, safety, always. You start with clearing turns to make sure the sky is yours. Then, you pick a really obvious point on the horizon. Roll in smoothly, use that point to guide you around the turn, and then, this is key, plan your rollout so you hit your target heading perfectly. Now, let's talk technique, because there's a secret to making this whole thing easier. It's trim. There's this great old saying in aviation, trim is a poor man's autopilot, and honestly, using it correctly is the secret to reducing your workload and flying a much, much better steep turn. So here's how you put that into action. Instead of trying to muscle the plane through the turn with the yoke, you use trim proactively. As you're rolling into that 45-degree bank, add a few rolls of nose-up trim. This completely counteracts the plane's natural tendency to drop its nose, which means you can fly with your fingertips. You're making the airplane do the heavy lifting for you. And here it is. This might be the single most important visual cue you'll learn. A steep turn is a visual maneuver, not an instrument one. You're looking outside. So you pick a spot on your engine cowling, and your only job is to slice that spot perfectly across the horizon. If it starts to climb, you push forward a little. If it starts to drop, you pull back. It's really that simple. Of course, it's rarely that simple in practice, is it? This is a tough maneuver, and there is a lot that can go wrong. So let's break down some of the most common errors and, more importantly, how you can avoid them. And I'm not kidding when I say there are a few pitfalls. In fact, the FAA officially lists 13 common errors for this one maneuver. 13. That alone tells you just how many different skills are being put to the test all at the same time. But let's just focus on the big ones. Gaining or losing altitude, that's almost always a trim issue, or it's because your eyes aren't outside. Trying to fly the maneuver by staring at your instruments, that defeats the whole purpose of building that outside awareness. And failing to scan for traffic, well, that's exactly why that clearing turn is the absolute non-negotiable first step. Every error has a solution, and it's usually rooted in proper technique. So, to wrap this all up, let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. Because mastering the steep turn, it isn't just about nailing one maneuver. It's really about mastering the mindset that it teaches you. This is the real takeaway. The steep turn develops a pilot's mindset. It teaches risk management. You always clear the area first. It forces divided attention, flying with precision while always being aware of what's around you. And it gives you a true sense of command, understanding your plane's limits and flying it with absolute confidence. Ultimately, it really all comes back to this one simple, powerful truth. Every single maneuver, every single flight is another chance to refine your skills and deepen your understanding. The learning just never, ever stops. So I'll just leave you with this question. Is the goal to perform a perfect maneuver for a check ride? Or is it to internalize the lessons of precision and awareness and to build the mindset of a pilot who never stops learning? That, right there, is the true purpose of the steep turn.